Good morning, you guys. It is Andrea here at VW Family Farm, and if this is your first video you're seeing from us, welcome. If you've been here a while, thank you guys. We appreciate you. We get questions all the time. Here on our farm, we raise protein. So we raise beef, pork, chicken, and turkey as naturally as possible. And here we are, it's 2022, and we're in the middle of spring, and so that means chicken raising time. We get questions quite a lot all throughout the winter and everything about when will you have fresh chicken? And so I explain this quite a lot, that when the chicken is gone for the year, it's gone, because we can only raise chicken from spring to fall, and then there's no chicken raising for us of meat chickens in the winter. But we get questions all the time about what the process looks like for raising all kinds of different animals. What does it look like for pigs? I've made videos on that, and cows and things. Well, today's video is about broilers. So I want to kind of take you through the process. Today is chicken loading day. Sorry, my rooster's crowing. So tonight I will be showing you what it looks like on the day that they go to the processor. But let's talk about where do they start. So they start right here in this makeshift brooder. This is an old 18-wheeler trailer that we got from bargaining, and someone wanted rid of it. We wanted it, and so we did some trading. It's been great. Ben has fixed it up for a brooder. It works excellent, and this is where it all begins. So they start in there from the time they arrive in the mail at the post office. We've showed you many times picking them up at the post office. They're usually pretty happy to see us, to get those chirping chicks out of their post office in boxes of 50 in the past, sometimes 100 per box, and they go straight in there. There's heaters, there's waterers, there's feeders, and they spend about their first 3 weeks in the brooder staying warm, and throughout as the weeks go by, their feed increases and their heat decreases. So we wind up eventually turning the heaters off and let them spend a few days like that, and then we wind up raising up the door. They spend a few days like that until they're acclimated to basically just the normal air temperature, and then they move out. And I am actually driving right now, but I'm on our little farm road through our pasture, so never fear. But they move out of the brooder. We load them in crates. We have videos on all of these things more in depth and in detail. This is just a fast track overview of what happens here on our farm. And so they move out. We load them in crates, we put those on a trailer, and we take them back to a schooner that Ben also built. We try to do things on our farm as frugally as possible. We do like them to look nice, but we like them to be highly functioning. We have raised broilers for years, like in batches of 100, 200, things like that. We started small and we've just increased over time. And we have a plucker, and we cleaned all of those ourselves, kept most of them whole. By the end of doing that, I was cutting them up into pieces some and packaging those, but it was mainly just for our family, close friends, things like that. But we have started this meat business, so now it's on a much larger scale. This batch that's loading out today was a batch of 600. What you just saw in the brooder is a batch of 800, and then next week we will receive another batch of 800. So we no longer clean them ourselves. We have a processor do it. They're packaged nicely, they're vacuum sealed. They cut them professionally into all the pieces that people want and desire to buy these days, and it just works out for us. So 3 weeks of age, they move outside. Now, this is another disclaimer. We do not start absolutely as early as you can. You can start pretty early here in Arkansas raising chickens, but you're gonna have to do more time in the brooder. You're gonna have to pay more attention to their temperature and things like that. So we do not do that. We did not get this batch until last week of March, first week of April. That was our first batch. We could have started honestly in February, and you can honestly go and have your last batch going in like even November around here, but it does get more complicated as the temperatures are not as stable and not as warm. So just want to put that out there. So 3 weeks of age, they come out to the schooner, and this behind me is the massive schooner that Ben built. We got a greenhouse frame for pretty cheap. just in pieces, some of it was kind of hodgepodge pieces anyway, but we got a really good deal. He put this together and converted it into a schooner. There's a whole video on that, but that is where they come and spend 4 weeks. So we process at 7 weeks. Last year we did 8, and sometimes even between 8 and 9, and they just got enormous. They put on fat at the very end, and it just, 7 seemed like, with each batch we raised last year, 7 seemed like the perfect cutoff time, if you will. I started to say the perfect number, but I thought that might be a little bit of a pun because a lot of people say 7 is the perfect number. But anyway, 7 seems to be a good cutoff for us. So that's what we scheduled this year. They go tonight, and so that is what we're out here the morning of the loadout, and we have some things to do, and I'm going to tell you the reasoning behind what I'm doing. So I don't know, you guys probably, if you're new here, you didn't see our last video. We actually had a storm come up out of nowhere just a couple days ago. We're at Loadout week and picked this massive thing up like a parachute, killed some chickens. It could have been so much worse, but it's just one of those things. Nothing is guaranteed when you're raising animals. So since this is a video about chickens, I can't not mention the whole process. And I just want to encourage you guys, be organized. When you're thinking about raising chickens for the year, you need to think about, like what I told you about, how long, based on your weather and things, are they going to spend in the brooder? And then how long are they going to spend outside? Now, last year was our first year doing it on this scale, and here's what we did. We got a batch in, we brooded them, we put them in the schooner, we loaded them, and we shipped them to the processor, and then we started all over. So while they were spending their time outside, which was flexible because we didn't have another batch coming in behind them, they could stay in the brooder as long as we wanted them to, basically. And you can definitely do it that way, and I might even encourage you to do it that way your first year and learn some things. But we quickly realized we drugged the process out a lot because we had an empty brooder for weeks when we could have been brooding our next batch and speeding along the process. So this year we decided to give it a try. So you are gonna have to do some figuring. First thing you're gonna need to do is get your processing dates and have a tentative plan of, if I brood these for this many weeks, and then if I put them in the schooner this many weeks, they would need to go now. When that first batch goes out to the schooner, I need the second batch shipping, and then I need to base my next processing date off of that. I hope that makes sense. Call and see if you can get those dates. Take into account, are you gonna be out of town? What's your weather like those times of year? Can you actually brood them for that amount of time, or might they need a little longer? Because once you set this plan in motion, there's no flexing it, because if you have another batch of baby chicks coming, that bigger batch has to move out of your brooder. So just keep all of that in mind. Once you set the plan in motion, you cannot flex it. So you're gonna need to be able to move forward with it. So be realistic and call and see if you can get those processing dates. Once you do, move backwards and start setting your ordering dates for your chicks. And if you can't get those, you can always cancel those processing dates, but you can't order chicks if you don't have the dates, if that makes sense, because they have to have somewhere to go at the end. Keep in mind, if you're doing this, that you're gonna have to take into consideration the processing costs in your cost of your final birds that you raise, as well as, like tonight, we have a guy coming to haul them to the processor for us. We do have some crates, but we don't have near enough. So take all those things into consideration and see if, based on what feed type you're gonna choose, are you gonna be able to be profitable with this, or are you basically gonna break even? Because if you're breaking even, honestly, why are you even doing it? If you're just raising for your family, that's one thing. And if you're breaking even and you're okay with that, but if you're trying to make a profit, you need to make sure you're making a profit. So like I mentioned, tonight is loadout night. Our processing date is actually tomorrow. So I'm out here this morning, I'm gonna take their feed away. That is vitally important and something we did not do when we were processing them ourselves the first couple times, and you will quickly find out that is a big mistake. Their crawl will fill up with feed, it's just a big mess. So it's required if you are going to send them to a processor, and I would highly encourage you to do it even if you're going to process them yourself. So this is step one. Come time and take their feed out of here and let their system kind of start to clean out. So I just took their feed away. Now I am going to get ready and we're gonna move this schooner. If you have a way to move your meat chickens, which is highly, highly recommended because they poop a lot, you're gonna want the morning you take their feed away to move them onto fresh ground, because that night when you load them up, believe me, you'll be glad you did. You do want to give them water for the day. It's hot out here, so be sure and give them water. Just take away the food. If you don't, like the people that are hauling for us charge a fee, they can tell if you've taken the food away or not, because it will make an absolute mess in their cages and for the processing and things. So take the food away. I promise you won't regret it. I promise you will regret it if you don't. Give them water. They're on fresh grass. That's going to get them cleaner for later when we have to handle them all. And then sometimes in the past when it's handling time, we'll even move them again, so that, because they're going to go ahead and poop throughout the day. So we're working on fresh ground. So just keep that in mind. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, the very, very, very first time we raised these, years ago, we knew nothing about it. We didn't watch YouTube at that time. We didn't know anywhere to get info. We thought you raised these like regular chickens. We just put them in a pen and raised them, and I promise you guys, it got about a foot deep in there. Our pen was stationary, it couldn't be moved, and it was just an absolute mess. We didn't know what we were doing. We wound up trying to sell them to someone just to get rid of them. We wound up selling them, I'm embarrassed to even tell y'all, for $1 a piece because we knew nothing about it. So just take every opportunity you can, learn from it, and I promise you'll be better off for it. Hey y'all, so it is about sunset. We've probably hoping to get this done in an hour. We are gonna put these in crates and get them loaded on the trailer, and they will be headed to the processor. And so we're gonna get busy. Hopefully this won't take very long. We all have a job, we get busy with it and knock it out. Hey y'all, so it is the next day. We got the chicks loaded and taken off to the processor, and the next step in this process is to call the processor and tell them all the cuts you want. And so we've done that, and now it is time to take the next batch, which around here is batch 2 for the year. They are gonna be moving out to the schooner and getting the brooder prepared for batch 3. So that's what we're doing today. It takes all hands on deck, and so we are rolling with it and gonna get this job accomplished.
So what I did is I just raised the water system up.
I don't know if y'all can see that. Point to it, Lane.
That way that we don't conk our head on it as much or have to step over it.
There we go. You can see it on both sides of Lane and Ben. So I've shown y'all receiving chicks multiple times, so I'm not gonna bore you with that. But what we're gonna do is load these chicks up, haul them to the schooner where you saw earlier in the video. We're gonna scoop up all these rice hulls that are in here and put down a fresh batch and get all prepared for the next round. These things are 3 weeks old and they're ready to go. Thank y'all for watching. We've got playlists on the brooder and the schooner and how we built all of this and receiving chicks and switching them out and everything. I just wanted to make a dedicated video from start to finish of the process. Thank y'all for watching. We're gonna get busy and get these moved and start over. That's life on a farm. See you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching and God bless.